we are very excited to be here, CS, that we can be here launching a product that would resonate with a significant majority of Kenya. It's a support to small and micro enterprise, which from where we sit, we see this as the future of this country in terms of dealing with the challenges that the country is facing currently and what we anticipate for the future.
Different SMEs have different needs. There's also different financial services that they require. Very often, I think in the past, we've tended to lump all these things together. But I think today, the fact that we've been able to have a true partnership between the government and the private sector, represented by the Bankers Association, is a true milestone.
It's very historic for us, as a banking sector. We've always stood very strongly, and Mutai raised an issue that is very close to us, that in driving a change in our markets, you need partnerships. And so there is really no way you can deliver such a very historic and very catalytic program than working together between the National Treasury and the financial sector. There isn't really other way. And maybe what we need to do is pushing back on the SMEs, because a lot of interventions have continued to be put. A lot of policy changes have happened. I've been here long enough to see them. And it's more to say, how do we push everybody else to play their role in pushing? So the credit guarantee scheme we're launching today is something the banks have been ready, and is very historic today. Is actually Charles Mudiwa, who is here. We learned from one other country in the continent. So this is perhaps the second country on the continent to have a program like this. This is more progressive, largely in terms of the way it is shared. The lending for us as an industry, we will say between 30 and 40% of our lending goes into this segment, knowing that the industry is lending close to 2.5, 2.6 trillion shillings so far. And this is just a pilot of the few banks who are here, the 7 of them, or the 7 of us. The ambition is to reach the entire industry, or the 40 banks, and the microfinance institutions as we go forward. So the conversation, I think, is just starting. So in terms of the abilities for our micro, small, and medium enterprises, I think this is the right opportunity, and we're providing that across all the banks. It's a very standard product across all banks, and that's what synergy we are looking for. And so for most of us who lead the data and statistics, we talk about 70 to 80% of our businesses goes into small enterprises. I think, and this is a return, is a good call that finally banks, it's not that we've not been lending, I think it's providing an opportunity, a leverage for customers who are able to see the banking sector as an enabler for themselves. So we remain as a catalyst as the CS. We'll give you a commitment as an industry in terms of partnering to drive the performance. It's also important to see, working with the Secretariat, the reports that we will see. And for me, on the behalf of the industry, and also bringing abroad what we are seeing as the other partners. CS, you know that the development partners, the World Banks and the rest are still a process that's going to come along to lift the facility from where it is today.
We all appreciate that this scheme is anchored on improving the financial operating environment of micro, small, and medium enterprises, commonly known as MSMEs. And really for me is to appreciate us for taking time to participate in this launch. We all know that MSMEs are the mainstay of Kenya's economy, and indeed many economies around the world, where in our country they contribute to a significant portion of employment. However, this notwithstanding, we all know that MSMEs do face quite a number of challenges. I'll pick just a few of this, one of them being lack of working capital, which is usually a big problem. Secondly, the question about inadequate collateral security, and then again, limited access to markets. And so, as a result, and I say this sadly, most MSMEs do not survive beyond 4 years. In fact, we've been told that within the first year or two, 90% of startups do not see the light of the day. So more recently, these challenges of MSMEs have been worsened by the impact of COVID-19, which has severely disrupted almost all market supply chains. And this has contributed to unprecedented deterioration of businesses and a massive loss of employment. And so CS, even though the government has initiated various interventions to mitigate the challenges enumerated above, it is evident that the lack of adequate and affordable credit remains one of the biggest challenges for this category of businesses. Now, for instance, I quote a study which was conducted by the National Treasury that revealed that about 71% of MSMEs who submitted working capital credit requests to our friends in the banks reported to have received less than what they requested for. And the reason that they quoted for not receiving what they had requested for was the lack of collateral, which is we are trying to cure with this credit guarantee scheme framework. And so in response to the above challenges, the government has established the credit guarantee scheme framework to provide partial mitigation of the default risks which are associated with lending to MSMEs, hence improving the ability of MSMEs to access credit for their operational and for their growth needs. The objective of the credit guarantee scheme, therefore, is to help to stabilize the market and protect jobs for MSMEs. And so in this regard, the scheme is designed to provide a guarantee to pay out to participating financial institutions a portion of the outstanding amount in case of defaults on qualifying credit facilities which have been extended to micro, small, and medium enterprises. And so for successful implementation of this credit guarantee scheme and its sustainability, a close partnership between the government and the private sector is indeed very important and key. I'm therefore delighted to witness the evolving collaboration between the government and the participating financial institution, which have agreed to set aside some of their resources for the benefit of this scheme. I want also to say that the way we have started this scheme, it's just a proof of concept because we have got several interested partners who want to partner once this scheme takes off so that we can make it big and make sure that we reach all the corners of the country.
MSMEs in Kenya represent an important proportion of economic activities and livelihoods, constituting over 98% of all businesses in the country, while accounting for 30% jobs created annually, 34% of the GDP, and 12% of the manufacturing sector. Ladies and gentlemen, despite these contributions, the MSME continue to face challenges in accessing credit to finance their operations. This is mainly because of inadequate collateral, information asymmetry, and information management practices, which make them unattractive to lenders. This has been said through by past speakers. As a result, there is a financing gap for many MSMEs, despite the fact that they are the backbone of our economy, and we continue to cherish them, we continue to glorify them.
Credit guarantee schemes for MSMEs is a partnership between government and financial institutions who act as the intermediaries in provision of finances to MSME borrowers. The National Treasury used an open objectives process to identify 7 banks to implement the inaugural phase, which is today. We appreciate these banks for accepting to partner with the government on this important journey. Given that this is not only the beginning of the journey, after banks, financial institutions other banks and financial institutions will be brought on board, including those commercial banks that are currently serving the MSME sector, but not included in the initial phase. I know there are many other interventions, not as a result of this credit guarantee scheme. There are many players in this sector. But the fact that they are not here today does not mean that they have been excluded. This engagement is going to be an ongoing intervention, and banks and other financial institutions will be allowed to come on board at their own appropriate times. We look forward to closer collaboration and partnership with all including development partners and all relevant agencies in the course of time. I thank our development partners who have supported us in the process of establishment of the credit guarantee scheme, including the FSAD Kenya, the World Bank, USAID, African Development Bank, among others. We are likely to attract more resources and more support from these agencies because we've been part and parcel of the process of engagement at all levels. It's also important to remind ourselves, including the commercial banks present here today, and all other stakeholders that the success of the credit guarantee scheme is dependent on the dedication of all parties, and I call upon all to play their roles as expected, including also avoiding the moral hazard which sometimes can creep in, of either conspiracy or engagement that might not be very healthy to the success and the future of the scheme. I am sure that all parties will remain faithful to the process, but the tenets that we've agreed among ourselves to live to it and make sure that this not only grow but expand to a level that has never been seen in any economy in the region. It's my hope that given the anxiety and the long period of waiting by the sector in accessing affordable financing, the participating financial institutions will now run with it and make sure that they start disbursing as from tomorrow, because the SMEs can no longer wait. They have waited long enough. Their expectations have been very high, and some may be because of the challenges they are currently undergoing, mainly as a result of the business disruption as a result of COVID. If you now start disbursing tomorrow, maybe we are likely to save more. Finally, let me commend the team and the National Treasury that have worked tirelessly to make the Credit Guarantee Scheme initiative become a reality. We also challenge the sector to rise up to the occasion, the SME sector to rise up to the occasion by accessing this facility and enabling the business not only to grow but also to flourish, because our intention is that we want them to not only expand but triple the number of people employed in this sector. The area that the lifespan of this sector has been very short. I think we've been told by one of the speakers, but we want them to be graduate from where they are to higher businesses, to industrialize, to become manufacturers for the benefit of our general economy. Not only to grow but also create wealth and better lives for themselves and for the rest of the Kenyans.